Welcome to You Are Your Name. I'm Daken Ariel, your host, and I have a co-host and guest today, Marlowe Shearing, who's discussing mental freedom. Thanks for joining us, Marlowe.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
So this is the last episode on mental freedom, and we thought we'd discuss the objective of mental freedom, which is what is universal thinking?
So to look at universal thinking, we have to go back to prior episodes and go back to individuality. We discussed that was the potential of every human, that each human takes that first breath and they're linked to life through the month, day, and year of their birth, which is then measurable as a spark within. And so it makes all humans equal, that we each have this opportunity to express this power of reason that should flow through our thinking. We discussed the first step as a balanced name, but we discussed that individuality is actually an individuality of mind becoming a channel of reason. And that channel of reason then is man thinking according to a bigness or a law of truth, something greater than himself, to link himself to a quality of mind that is relative to all humans. When we think of constructive thinking, we discussed how man has that opportunity to think, make choices, make decisions, create his life through his mind. But that there are laws of life, and there's a bigger aspect of life than our individual desires or wants in life. That this quality of reason expressing as a channel is because man makes decisions and governs self to rise above feeling. A lot of people think that they think, and yet they're translating feelings into thinking. We're trying to rise above feelings so that we can flow the energy of reason. We look around in life and we see the quality of intelligence that expresses in life. We see the seasons, we see animals, their instinctive law, and yet we see things like natural adaptation where animals or vegetation will adapt to the changing environment to allow them to continue their species. And so we look at life as a vast expression of laws of reason in a finite plane. Man should be bringing those qualities of intelligence or those qualities of reason into the finite plane through his decisions. And so then you can see that quality of universal thinking is something much big. And so then we think, well, what is universal thinking? Could I ever achieve that? And we think of that happy individual that maintains a pretty solid, even temperament. And they usually have a smile or a suggestion or a kind comment, something that's uplifting. And we recognize that stability of mind. And in another episode, we compared that to the child that has a temper tantrum, and then all the energies that are required to redirect those energies. And so we're saying that man, born into emotion, that baby takes its first breath and it cries and it feels wet, feels hungry. And so it's reactionary. But man is learning then to think first through the five senses. And then in the Kabalarian philosophy, we teach principles of life, principles of mind, principles of thinking. Where do thoughts come from? The creative endeavor of thinking to create our life, cycles, and all those things which are achievable through our minds, studying, learning, and reflecting on these truths. And then we bring this intelligent quality into life, and we recognize that man should be the steward of the earth. Man can affect change. Man can lift the thinking of others. And so then instead of inciting reactions through videos or movies, man could lift his fellow man. When we think about universal thinking, we think about that word, the universe. Mr. Parker has a quote, and it says, "Think always in the spirit of we." This is universal thinking and breeds tolerance and understanding. Remember, what makes you happy will also make others happy. And so learn to share your thinking and actions. We are our brother's keeper and evolve as a family. And so then it goes back to that. There's a universal principle. Each individual takes that first breath, but each individual then has an opportunity to become a channel for the intelligence of reason. And we create that through our mind, through lifting our thinking to evolve beyond feeling. And a feeling is such a part of life. And just that happy individual, you can see their expressions of tolerance and kindness, that gentle nudge or that gentle issuance of we could change, we could do better. And those qualities are stellar. And so that individual has learned then to make a choice with his thinking rather than reacting, yelling, impatience. And so it starts with the balanced name, but then it has to grow through that understanding, through the knowledge, and through the self-discipline and the effort of recognizing that we are our brother's keeper, and each mind adds a light or an energy of intelligence to the mortal plane, to life, and it has its effect on our fellow man, our fellow beings. And you see it immediately in your family, your close associations, but that energy then is reflected out.
We do say that thinking is mathematical. How does universal thinking relate to the mathematical principle?
And again, we go back and let's do a different number. That 7 quality, Mona, is very shy, introverted, and yet within them is a deep desire to understand life, to understand the meaning, to understand the mysteries of life. And so that sensitivity masks an intelligence that they are unwilling to express for fear of criticism. So that 7 quality, that energy, once learned and understood, provides that mind with opportunities of delving into aspects of life. So it's always an energy of feeling versus thinking. And we could go through all the 9 numbers. I know I've mentioned the 5 in the past, so possibly then the 9. And that 9 has that desire, that universal ideal of trying to be the one that lifts humanity. But with so much feeling, they can burn themselves out. We think of the ballerina or the artist, the one that pours their heart and soul into their endeavors. And then the burnout or the swing of the emotions the other way. And then there's a reaction through the nervous system. So we can see that man has to learn to think. And thinking is the first step. And thinking is based upon man having that governance of feeling, that decision of mind, that energy to take the deep breath, that energy to live to a standard of truth, to live to a standard of happiness, to live to a standard of not being that individual that will cause the dissension, but will be the one that will stand against it and lift minds to some bigger aspect of principle. And so that universal quality of thinking relates definitely to the same energies of mathematics. We start with that balanced name. We understand that potential, that seated within each individual with that first breath. And then our minds have to learn to be creative with our mind, to be able to absorb those energies and express those energies through our thinking, through decision of mind.
So we've seen the mathematics express emotionally when the name is unbalanced. So a one can be belligerent, or the two can be passive and negative. And we've seen the qualities express intellectually. So you have the three can be very cosmopolitan and expressive, and the four can be intellectual and develop an understanding of life from a logical point of view. So that's the physical and the mental, but there would also be a universal level of those qualities. Can you comment about the universal expression of the 1 to 9 principle?
The universal expression of the 1 to 9 principle are the qualities of intelligence, of becoming that person that can affect change. And so that one quality brings that quality of individuality of mind. And they're the individual that can stand separate and stand tall, stand for truth, be the leader, express truth, express things simply to give direction and give that recognition that he will be there beside you, making change. And that 2 quality has that ability to bring the diplomacy, the understanding between people, the meeting of minds, bring that energy of creating that understanding and unity. And that unity is such an important aspect of life, because united we stand, divided we're at odds with each other. The 3 quality then is that of expression, and that 3 quality has the ability to lift others. And so now they're adding energy to what the 2 has pointed out, that this is the right way. This is the avenue that we've all agreed on, that 3 will bring the enthusiasm, the energy, and the leaderships through understanding, making it fun, and creating the opportunity of minds. Yes, let's do this. And the 4 quality adds logic, and that logic brings the intelligence to the plan, and it brings the understanding, and then everyone recognizes the nuts and the bolts of how to go ahead and why the logic is the logic. And then they can understand all facets. The 5 quality is new life, and that 5 quality looks at what the 4 has stated as truth and said, are we sure there isn't more to this? Could there be another avenue? Could there be something greater, something bigger, something we haven't thought of yet? And so that 5 quality is pushing to say, let's have more perception. Let's look at things differently. Let's shake it up a little bit and see if we could be more expedient, accomplish things in a quicker, more efficient way. The 6th quality brings that intelligence of responsibility to humanity, that understanding that, in a sense, we are our brother's keeper, and that responsibility to all humans. And so they're inclusive of everyone. And it creates, again, that intelligence of the plan of how to move forward and how we're going to work again as a group and create that progress forward. The 7th quality brings that understanding that there's more to life, that there's deeper aspects to life, that not just the physical plane, but now we look at the aspects of the unknown and the unseen, the energies that are untapped because they're not easily recognized. And so that 7 quality probes deeper into life and brings more of the intelligence of the whys of life. That 8 quality then is the quality of creating the opportunity for every human. And it's the distribution of the fruits of the earth. And it's the quality of mind that looks at every individual and sees potential, and they can manage and direct and create objectivity and lift minds and create more expression of truth. And the 9 quality, they're the Pied Piper, and they too see that bigger response that life should be a joy and it should be lived to a purpose. And that purpose is relative to each human. And that 9 brings the joy of, yes, service isn't hard. It's just right. It's the right thing to do. And we should all participate. And so that 9 quality lifts, adds energy, and adds another big perspective to that energy of humankind moving forward.
We could say that universal thinking draws from all the qualities. And sometimes we have people wonder, how is it that mind in its complexity can be understood through just 9 numbers? How would you clarify that?
The principle of 1 to 9, it sounds simple, and yet when we think about the qualities of one human mind, we think of their first name, their last name, the family name, the name they married into, the birth path quality, the 3 minors, and the lessons relative to each of those minors, and then the cycles. And the cycles change every year, every month, every day. And so isn't the smallness of a 1 to 9 principle, it's the bigness, and it's the myriad facets of the energy of that one quality. And when we know and understand that one quality in its simplicity, and then we look at name combinations or different cyclic periods of time, different energies, we recognize that those energies of life are understandable, but they're multifaceted. And it's that decision of mind, that creative ability of using your mind to recognize and understand those qualities of energy, and then allow those energies to flow through your thinking. And that is what we might say a big job, but it's entirely possible that for each human, just enrolling in the life analysis training, within 3 classes, there's already a recognition of truth, and it gives that impetus and that enthusiasm to keep understanding and keep learning.
Sometimes we talk about how many songs can be composed with the notes of the musical scale, and it's infinite. In the same way, we combine the mathematics in names, and it becomes an infinite variety. And even 2 Peters are completely unique. There's no 2 persons that are the same. They may draw from the same mathematical qualities, but they'll translate that in their own unique way. Is there any final comments you'd like to make?
That word universal can be looked at as either an inspiration and something to work towards, or can be looked at as being daunting, that, myself, my small self. But we live in this world, and again, I stated in a previous podcast, mind is the greatest power in the universe, and our mind creates our life and our thinking. And our thinking can either be small or big, and it's a choice. And it's an effort of discipline, an effort of understanding principle, and it's an effort of growth. And growth is life, so seize the day.
That will conclude this episode on mental freedom and the question of what is universal thinking. Next week, we're going to discuss mental balance as being the key towards creating mental freedom. Until then, happy thoughts.
Whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. Number 1, the Balance Name Recommendation Service. Join the thousands of others who have harmonized their names with their inner potential to improve their health, happiness, and success. Number 2, learn the principles of mental freedom. Participate in our online training program to gain the essential tools to create all the progressive changes you seek in your life. These proven truths will open up new perspectives and accelerate your attainment of health, happiness, and success. Number 3, let Kalex Solutions help you choose a balanced name for your business, because many business names are an impediment to one's overall business success.